Welcome everyone back to For Honor World. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play and counter Shinobi, an updated guide to my previous video. Today we are joined by Count. As you can clearly see, he is in Discord, but you only see part of his name because the overlay only shows it. Midway through we're going to switch it up. I'm going to tell you how to fight Shinobi as well, so we can get this over with. So, starting us off, we're going to start off with a basic kick. Count, are you aware of how to counter the kick?
Yes.
Okay, don't. Dodge early, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to cover some of the more complex stuff that I like to do with Shinobi, because people tend to ask me, how do I play Shinobi, and why don't I do certain stuff? So, some of the things I like to do is just light to backflip. Of course, you guys all know that, because it's a safe, but try not to do two lights as much as possible, because that's scummy. Also, another thing. If you don't do a free light, that will actually do about 5 more damage than the normal light. You risk getting parried, but yeah. Another thing to note is, don't be afraid to throw out heavies, because everyone thinks you're going to throw a light. Because, honestly, who expects a Shinobi heavy? And then you can do your free light after that, and then backflip. Another strategy I will typically pull off is to light then guard break, because people will think I'm going to delay the second light. And you can get your heavy and light and then backflip off of that. Another thing to do is, you all know that you can kick after you roll forward, but don't try and do that. What I like to do is kick, heavy, roll forward into other heavy. Now you see Count liked to dodge it there because he knew I was going to do it. If an opponent knows you're going to either kick or do a heavy and wants to dodge it, your best strategy is to do this. That is probably one of the best ways you can do it. Another thing you can do is Count and try and dodge my kick, okay? Ready? Is you can do range guard break out of your double dodge and then into sickle rain and then backflip out of there for help. Now, the third light in the sickle rain does not do that much damage for how much stamina it takes up, so don't be afraid to backflip out of the second light, which you can do. This will not work under certain situations where your opponent dodges on reaction, so be wary of how you use that. Of course, Count didn't dodge on reaction because I told him not to. This is very useful for finishing off executions, and since they did dodge early, it does make it free because they can't counter guard break. Another way to do it is to whiff moves in order to get a free guard break. So, Count, would you like to guard break me after I miss a heavy? Okay. Then you can do sickle rain and then bring them back into it, because again, they've already wasted their guard break frames on that. You can also mix this up with lights as well, and the most common way is with a kick. Now, note, Raider is immune to this slightly, so be careful how you take care of him because of his dodge guard break. Ways to counter Shinobi in this situation, just dodge and then maybe get a light on some characters. We're going to cover what characters can probably do this later on. Other strategies are to use double dodge, heavy, into second heavy, or feint the second heavy into a guard break, or just use the light and backflip out of it. And you can also try for a quad dodge, but this is very difficult to pull off. What you have to do is you have to hold heavy midway through and then let it go and then hold it again. It's very hard to pull off. I can pull it off slightly. But yeah, and they updated it so it's easier to do the kick now, so you can do that. There you go. They updated it so it's easier to do the kick now than it was before. It used to be like it was impossible to do a kick. Now your opponent, again, if they dodge on a reaction, they will force you into close range, and then you will have to resort to your mix-ups. Many people will, again, not expect Shinobi to use a light. So your best bet is to heavy, feint, heavy light, backflip. Another strategy to do is to use Shinobi's range aspects to better suit him in multiple situations. So kick an opponent, do a heavy, backflip, and then lock onto someone else, and then throw a heavy. This is mainly good for gank busting. Another thing to note is Shinobi's best feats are stealth, revenge attacks, Nukakubi, and Yamauba. You can trade in Nukakubi for slip through, but you will not be able to get your chains as long, and you will be limited by your stamina versus having infinite stamina hardly, and also getting your health back fast. You may chase these up as your playstyle needs, but yeah. Be careful of people that like to use heavies after you backflip. This will be their greatest downfall. So throw a heavy, and that gives you a free simple range. Be careful of how you use this, as many people will be confused by this. And not to mention, you can also use this to ledge. Another thing to note, Shinobi's guard break, his forward throw has a much greater distance than his side throw. So what you do is when you throw forward, they go much further than if you throw them to the side or back. So keep that in mind. Another trick I like to do is, if you're on controller, is you can throw them forward but kind of angle them to the side as you throw them. This will kind of make them gravitate towards ledges a lot easier. Another one of Shinobi's strongest abilities is his Shinobi's trade. Many people do not know about this, but those that do are very cautious about it. If Shinobi is ever pulled to the ground and a heavy is done on him, it will be done during his recovery phase, and he can get a free guard break unless an opponent chooses to do a light, which sometimes they're not even fast enough to do. Try and counter this and then do a heavy.
Wait, what? Oh. Yeah.
If they do a light after, they can counter, but many people will not suspect this because they think it's unsafe. So be careful how they do that. Raider's Zone is also guard breakable through during this state, as well as Shaman's Unblockable. So be careful if you are one of those characters and you have seen a Fallen Shinobi. The only truly safe punish, other than to do a light after, if you know your moveset of your character, is to just do a simple light. Okay, what else was I forgetting? I know I did enough. People that dodge on reaction. Some people will probably dodge your heavies as well. A solution to this is to actually just flat out double dodge heavy into feint into guard break and then heavy and light. This is a much safer punish than the ranged guard break, but with less results, obviously. Deflex. If done right, you can get a full over 50 damage punish, especially with gear stats. This becomes very useful. So what you do is you deflect, kick, and then ranged heavy. The ranged heavy must be done from a switched guard. So if you do it from the left, you have to do it from the top or right, and vice versa for all the other directions. However, if an opponent changes direction mid move, you have to very much account for that or play it safe and do a light. Everything else in this Shinobi guide is pretty much punishes for Shinobi, in case many of you think Shinobi's kick is too safe. Many people have complained about this so far, and yeah, they're not true. Shinobi's kick is never truly safe, and as I will show you with half the character roster, there are many ways to punish it. With Kensei, Orochi, Nobushi, some of the times Aramusha, Berserker, sometimes Shaman. PK is a 50-50. I'm a bit confused on whether Kong can counter or can't counter at the moment. It's a bit of a 50-50 there. But for now, we're going to use Kensei. Okay, so ways to counter Shinobi. Dodging on reaction. There is a slight frame where Shinobi's dodge can actually be done, Shinobi's kick can be done on reaction. It's very, it's very hard to get right most of the time, but once you get it down, it's pretty easy. So Count, would you like mixing up your kick and your range guard break out of your double dodge? And see if I can counter. Now try your kick. See, as soon as the animation starts up for the kick, that's as soon as you dodge. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it, and you might get countered by the range guard break. So, other ways to counter Shinobi are, after he does his kick, you can use your range guard, you can use your dodge heavy or dodge light to get a little bit damage. Though be careful, because Shinobi will have hyper armor as he's backflipping, so you want to be very sure to avoid this. His kicks aren't completely safe, but they are very easy to punish on some characters. So try and do your dodge, kick, the backflip. See, in that instance, he could have range guard broke me and punished me. But there are other ways to counter him, such as...
Wait, what? He didn't.
You must be very careful when you do this, because you don't know when he could basically attack. Once Shinobi realizes he can't fight you at long range, he will try and fight you at close range. So be careful how you take him on from there on out. He will be still a pain in ganks, but that is his weakness in 1v1s at least. Now I will be showing you the ways to counter Shinobi with the best known characters. Starting off with Orochi. Many people will assume Orochi does not have any counters to Shinobi, but they are surprisingly mistaken. I'm going to be honest, I did not know this at first either. Okay, so the way to counter Shinobi with Orochi can either be one of two things, but both revolve around dodging early, so you have to be extremely careful in combat with him. The first off is his back dodge heavy, which, if the Shinobi misses his kick, occasionally you can get the Shinobi just as he gets out of his recovery and then land your top lights. Another solution also involves dodging early. You can track them with your double light and then punish them that way. However, you must be careful when you do this because, again, sometimes you can catch them while they're still in their hyper armor, so they can do their guard break into sickle range, so take that as you will. The other punish that is more well known, but can still be kinda countered, is his dodge light. The Orochi dodge light is also too fast for his recovery sometimes, so you can catch them off guard that way. So yeah,
Depends on the timing.
that is Orochi. Another way to counter Shinobi's kick with Nobushi is to use her dodge light capabilities to punish Shinobi and still have enough recovery frames so that his backflip won't damage her. Okay. You may also do it with her heavies as well, but this might be a little bit trickier for some people. Because remember, you have to remember he can range guard break, so it might be unsafe. So be careful how you go about this. You may also interrupt his range guard break with moves, but it's more difficult to do so than you think. Otherwise, you might get interrupted with the guard break itself. So be careful how you go about it. The full punish for Nobushi, however, is much more dangerous than both of those combined. This is the full stance punish for Shinobi's kick. Now that is completely safe because you have caught him while he is out of his hyper armor, so he can't do anything to punish you for it. And instead, because he has bleed on him now, you will do extra damage with Nobushi. This makes it extremely dangerous for Shinobi to ever kick you, which will resort him to the range guard break, but you can mix this in between. Okay, so the full punish is you can't even do the range guard break when Nobushi goes into her full stance, because the full stance for Nobushi is completely invulnerable to all attacks. This also includes Shinobi's ranged attacks. So the full punish for that is also the same. However, you may do a kick in between after your first light to do even more damage. So Count, would you like to demonstrate? That is a full punish, but it is dodgeable out of. You just might surprise a Shinobi very much with it. So now you do the range guard break one.
Oh my god.
That was also the full punish for his range guard break. You might not land the kick. You might. It just you would definitely surprise a lot of Shinobis with the immediate 2-bar punish. So Nobushi's a pretty strong counter as well to Shinobi, given she has a long-range staff, and Shinobi's only main advantage is staying at long range. Force him into short range, Nobushi still has a large advantage. So Berserker's punish for Shinobi's kick is very obvious as well. It is his his dash light. And then you can just bring that straight into his chain, and Shinobi is forced at close range. Shinobi can still deflect you if he's smart, but if he's even smarter, he won't try to, because Berserker is a feint monster. Another punish for when he goes to backflip is even more dangerous. So if you could just do that real quick. Try to range guard break me out of that. Yeah, I know.
Oh.
If you time that just right, if you time it just right, Berserker can get the top heavy rush off of his backflip. But you have to expect him to do it and be very careful, because if he does the range guard break immediately after the kick without backflipping, Berserker will be punished. So try that. No, I mean that works too. Another thing would be Berserker. Another punish is for Shinobi to do the deflect off of that, so you might want to be careful if they're extremely defensive against Berserk, which they very well might be.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the punish for Zerk, so you might want to be careful. However, Zerk is guaranteed a forward dodge light, or just a light if you expect him to do the guard break. There are ways to counter it, but this is a mind game character, so you're going to have to pull even bigger mind games to defeat him. Now, most people don't know this, but Warden actually can have a single punish for Shinobi, though it is very difficult to pull off. Most Shinobi will know that as soon as a Warden starts his shoulder bash, he is immediately range guard breakable, because he will always fail it. However, you can feint the shoulder bash, and then force a Shinobi onto the ground where you can properly punish him. That is the proper punish for Warden. However, other punishes are risky and very difficult to time and could get him punished. So be careful how you go about this. Go.
Okay. Wait, one sec.
So, Raider is very easy to counter Shinobi with, as his guard break can be immediately done after a dodge, so you can feel free to guard break safely, but you have to do it quickly. Another punish is to use Raider's stunning tap to punish Shinobi with 2 lights if you don't want to consume that much stamina. Okay, so everyone, since Shinobi's ranged heavies also count as a normal attack, you can also very much glitch some very interesting counter moves when Shinobi does his ranged heavies, such as crushing counters. This can work from varying ranges too, though it does get a pretty long range. Sometimes. So ways to counter Shinobi with Highlander. The most basic one is to do Celtic Curse after dodge. This will catch him in his guard break and also make him. This will catch him after his backflip and also make him immune to any ranged heavies or guard breaks that the Shinobi does after. This is his only good punish, though it is very interesting to use the crushing counters accordingly if Shinobi ever does something really long range when he shouldn't. If Highlander is in offensive form, he can pull off a very powerful punish for Shinobi if they ever decide to kick. So, Orochi has some very interesting punishes, one of which being for Shinobi's long-range attacks. If Orochi is close enough, he can actually all-block punish, and it's very reliable. Shinobis will oftentimes have a hard time trying to parry it. You could try the top heavy, but that has a lot less range, and so it's a lot easier to do if Shinobi's backed up. The top heavy will be guaranteed if Shinobi, if you are close enough to the Shinobi, because his recovery frames are much too great after a successful block from his ranged heavy. Next up, we're going to try dodge punishes. So for punishment, Orochi, if reacted quickly, can do his dodge forward heavy. And it's more important that he does the top one, as this will give him hyper armor and immunity to all the ranged heavies should a Shinobi decide to do them after the backflip. So Kong has some very interesting punishes for Shinobi as well, particularly the kick. If done fast enough, can completely interrupt him and force him to stay at close range because he can't do a backflip. Next up is Kong also has the ability to use his all block for Shinobi's ranged heavies, though you have to be a very close range for it to work. Valk's first punish consists of her dodge light. She can cancel Shinobi's backflip if timed perfectly, but can also get a second. But this also means she can occasionally get a second light. The Shinobi has to preemptively guess this is going to happen and block accordingly if they want to actually keep their health from this. Messed it up. Valkyrie's other punishes consist of her dodge back shield. This makes it very difficult for Shinobi to actually keep an eye on what's going on, because you can stun him or choose to do dodge lights. Okay. You may also choose to do a light out of her back shield, but this will only guarantee you one light, so be careful. Shaman has one of the more obvious punishes for Shinobi, but there are some hidden details that are part of the fine print. Her dodge heavies aren't exactly safe, but they aren't exactly not safe either if a Shinobi chooses to react quickly. For instance,
There you go.
you can do a side heavy and then another side heavy to get a lot of damage on Shinobi. However, one thing you should never do.
What? Now it works? I don't get it anymore.
Is do your unblockable heavy, because you very highly risk getting range guard broken by the Shinobi, or even just getting flat parried. So be careful how you do this. If you decide to dodge backward and charge up your heavy, you can then further bait a Shinobi into a range guard break because they see you in a vulnerable state. But in fact, if timed correctly, you can do a charge back heavy on the Shinobi after he backflips, making it very dangerous. However, try not to delay it as much as possible, as you can still be guard broken in this state if you are careful. Of course, no one's going to wait that long normally, so you don't have that much to worry about anyway. Next up is a very safe punish that will almost never get you punished yourself. The double light combo. If dodged on reaction, you can then get a free double light on Shinobi's kick. And this will permanently stun him, and this will stun him when he is out of the backflip, so he will be unable to do any ranged moves. And so he is back at square one and at close range, making Shaman deadly.